So in this video, I want to go over some of the things my adopted parents did for me or gave me or didn't do for me that a normal child in an orphanage would probably get. So we'll start with the good. From the age of 5 to about 14, 15, I asked for a lot of toys and I did get them. Cheap toys like action figures and things like that. There was a Game Boy on Christmas while I was getting abused in New Mexico. Every kid in there had a Game Boy though. Every kid in those programs had an iPod. And these are orphans, or MP3 player, they're like $20. But yes, I give him full credit for buying toys. Now, did he continue to do that when it came to a car, teaching me how to drive? Did he care about getting me stuff I would need for a job, like driving or different type? No. He could care less about getting me an education so I can get a decent job. When it was time to get me an education when I was in New Mexico and it was time to leave, you think he spent money buying me an education? No. They chose to better themselves. They wanted a beach vacation. They wanted to buy and sell houses and make some money. So they decided they would sacrifice their child's education and his health so that they could gain. So no. They stopped that at about 12, 13, and it became, once when the things got more expensive, they didn't want to do it. They were willing to buy me Xbox for my Christmas or my birthday, what I much appreciate. But the toys are probably the biggest thing my father got me, and some toys. Okay. Did he always get me, or was he good at getting me food? Can I think of a time where I went hungry or I wasn't able to eat anything but poisonous food? Yes, several times in my life, I was forced to eat poisonous food by a big black man who was trying to abuse little girls and little boys. It was a power thing, I'm not sure, but he ended up getting sued in court and he lost his job, but it was awful. I feel bad more for the little girl getting choked out in the shower by her own arms. But anyways, yeah, there was many times. How about the other programs or other times that I go hungry there? Oh, many times. You had 30 minutes to eat and that's it. And a lot of times the drugs my mother had me on would kill my appetite. So when my appetite came back, I wasn't allowed to eat. So many times I would go without food at nighttime because of the meds. I would take my afternoon meds. It would kill my appetite. By the time supper came around at 4, really early, 4 or 5, I wasn't hungry. By the time 7 comes around, I'm starving. I'm begging for bread and bananas. And they're telling me you can only have apples and bananas, and only one. So I'll try to eat a banana, and they won't let me eat because it's not time to eat. Those are the rules. Well, I'm somebody who's dangerously underweight, having health conditions, on lots of drugs. If you want to have a rule like that, don't medicate kids with 5, 6 different pills because those kill your appetite. They give you an appetite. They make you nauseous. They make you dizzy. And if you're taking pills that are doing that to you, it's probably not a good idea to have a rule where at 5 o'clock you got 30 minutes to eat or you can't eat for the rest of the night. That's probably not a good rule if you have kids on drugs. But anyways, yeah, there were several times I wasn't allowed to eat while I was starving. I was even forced to eat poisonous food in New Mexico. So we know during my childhood, I wasn't always fed. I wasn't always given food, or I wasn't always allowed to eat. I also was poisoned, held down, was forced to take pills, things like that, which also made it difficult. Okay, so food, my father did not provide me food when I needed it. He kept on throwing me in places and not telling them what was wrong with me. When I told my mother about side effects of my medication, or I would try to tell the doctors, they would ignore it and put me on more meds. So, no, they made it very hard to try to put down food. Okay? So if they stopped the meds, would have I had a better time eating my food? Absolutely. Well, who forced me to take meds? Who said I would get sick if I didn't take meds? Who kept on asking for more meds? Did I ask for more and more meds? No, I asked the doctors to take me down, slow down, maybe give me less. I have side effects. I'm getting dizzy. I have a headache in the morning. I'm nauseous. I'm having trouble eating. I'm always saying these side effects, but the doctors keep on doubling it. Why? Why would the doctors keep on giving me more meds at the age of 14 when I'm saying I'm having problems with the meds? Why would they do that? Well, my behavior is not getting better with the meds. I'm still drowsy. I'm still hungover. I'm still drooling. I'm not getting in any trouble. I'm just kind of smoking and sitting there as a drooling mess, and kids just pick on me, and that's about it. because I'm the kid who has rich parents, but yet I look like the raggedy kid, less dressed worse than them. So I am the kid who has rich parents, but looks like he came out of a gutter. Yeah, he's shaking, he's twitchy, he's on more meds than a serial killer. He got all this shit, and he doesn't even need a single pill. He only needs ADHD meds. That's all he needed for his entire life. And you can see this through my medical history, how in Texas the doctors found it unnecessary to drug me with as many meds as a serial killer. Well, why were they giving me so many meds? Did the doctors think it was necessary? No, of course not. They didn't think it was necessary. We had kids way behavioral problems. We had a kid in the room next to me that was going around punching staff and punching other kids whenever the staff told him to stop doing something. Hey, you got to go to your room. It's time for the room. He'd go into his room, start punching kids. That kid was on less meds than me. Was my behaviors any worse? No. So why did the doctors keep on giving me so many meds? The doctors found it unnecessary. We got a kid at the Lowell Treatment Center. He was in the next room next to me, and he hit his mother in the face with a hammer. Or sorry, his grandmother. She came in, her face was disfigured, whatever. But anyways, he wasn't. He was on less meds than me. Did I ever beat my parents with a hammer? Did I ever do anything crazy like that hurt somebody? Did I ever burn a house down? Did I ever? No. It was my mother blowing stuff out of proportion. See, some kids actually burn down your house, and that is why they're on so many drugs, is because they want to burn stuff down. In my case, I wanted to look at the glowy thingy, and I tried to light a match, and my mother tries to make it, I'm burning houses down on purpose. So we got that stuff going on. So why again did the doctors overdrug me so much? Why are they still confused today? Why, when I have a seizure, do the doctors have so much difficulty taking my information and my medical history that I give them? Because my mother would lie and try to get me on as many drugs as possible. Well, why would an adopted mother want to cause so many side effects and so many problems when the doctor tells my mother that I don't need certain meds and my mother keeps on pushing for drugs that the doctor says would hurt me? If you give Zach Zyprexa, he will get sick. Zach is not schizophrenic, so there's no need to give him these meds. No, I want him to take these pills. I want him to take these pills. Why? Just because I know best. I just know best. I used to be a nurse, so I know best. Well, we know that those medications made me worse. They made it hard for my behaviors. They made me impulsive. There's a lot of problems when you're taking massive amounts of drugs, fucking with a child's chemistry in the brain. And the doctors were very worried that my mother might have been going overboard as well. Of course, I'm the only kid in an entire program that's on triple the medications, quadruple the medications of anybody. We got a kid across the hall that is schizophrenic, and he's only on 2 meds. Me, I'm on like 5, 6. Why? My mother kept on saying, give him more meds. I want him on this pill. I want him on that pill. I want him on this pill. He has this illness. He has that illness. He has this illness. And what type of evidence did my mother provide to these doctors? Stupid stuff like my swimming medals, or I'm bumping in the furniture means I'm suicidal, or because I lit a match in a closet, I'm burning down their house, or because a neighbor boy wanted to make a fire candle, that means it's all my fault and I'm a firebug. Like, these aren't normal occurrences. I mean, when I was in Texas, the kid up there was doing the same thing, and I had no part in it. I was watching from my driveway as he was doing this stuff on his own. So it's very common. I also saw another kid in the neighborhood who was blowing up axe cans. Yeah, he liked to blow up axe cans and even showed me how to do it. And he was an idiot. He ended up saying, somebody's firing a gun back here. I'm like, when people hear a loud bang and they look at you, maybe not tell them there's a fucking gun, because that's worse than a small fire burning an axe can. Anyway, so there's lots of kids doing stupid, fun stuff. I knew kids who would take BB guns off their property. That doesn't make me any different if I did the same things. You just have to have a talk with your son and explain to him what might happen if you do these things. But instead, my mother would, instead of talking to me and giving me a spanking for trying to look at the match, she would get me like 5 pills, drug me, and make up stories about I purposely tried to burn down her house. Oh my God, I tried to burn it. Was anything burnt at all? No, there was nothing burnt in that entire house. And after this continued year after year, my mother kept on telling people these stories. kept on trying to get me on drugs, kept on making up stories of the doctors, kept on pushing the envelope with these mental illnesses. It got to me. By the time I'm 13, I'm starting to think that she's right, that these things are real. I'm starting to think that bumping in the furniture really does mean you're suicidal. And my overdose is an allergy attack because Benadryl works a little. And I'm starting to get very confused. And I'm also starting to be like, what the fuck do I care? If I want to do a science experiment with a race car or a slug, what, they're going to punish me next week for something I didn't do anyways. I mean, what does it matter? Next week, my mother will have another fantasy. And the week after that, she'll have another fantasy. And the month after that, she'll have another fantasy. And each time, somebody will hurt me, punish me, or cut off things I need. So I was tired of it. I was very, very tired of it. And still today, I'm tired of it. If I need an ambulance to pick me up off the side of the road this week, all that will happen is I'll be thrown to the street even if I can't walk. They will not treat me. They will not take my medical information. Why? Because the doctors have been told not to listen to me because everything is a fantasy, everything's made up. But has anything my mother and father tried to tell the doctors ever improved me at all? No. It's always made me worse. It made me quiet and drool. Yeah, it made me quiet and all fucked up. I mean, but you can do that with a perk 30. I mean, if you want to get somebody high as a kite on Thorazine, if that's what you're trying to do is slow down your son, well, you don't do that with psychiatry. You do it with a Benadryl. If you're going to drug your son without doctor's permission, at least just use a Benadryl. But my mother's pulling out Percocet, giving me overdoses, drugging me on Halloween, making me pale and vomit, giving me extra Epicac as a punishment. And now I'm 32. I'm trying to get medical treatment for what happened to me. And instead, the doctors continue to get weaponized, malpractice me, hurt me, release me when I need to be kept. I actually might die very soon from this, and I'm not happy to be murdered. I don't like being murdered. I mean, when it's just taken a little more time than normal. I mean, normally when you have a mother with Munchausen syndrome, she likes to give you antifreeze or something like that. Instead, my mother liked to slip me her prescriptions over and over, making me sick with prescriptions. She knew there was lots of side effects to prescriptions, so if she chose the more dangerous ones, maybe she could make me look sick. She could make me look ill at the doctors. Then she could cover up her crimes. She could make up more stories. And then the doctors would never listen to me. They would never find out what's really wrong with me. And she can continue just on her life with the drugging and playing with my body like it's her plaything. And yes, my mother played with my body, played with my mind, and it took me years to recover. Luckily, today, through religion and through some help, my mind has recovered. But if I have to live in the woods for years while going to the doctors, I can't survive it. My mind cannot take that anymore. I cannot take any more suffering because my family wants to hurt me. I just can't do it. I can't live in the woods, and if a shelter is going to belittle me because I don't have medical paperwork and then throw me out to the street in the middle of winter, that's not going to work anyways. So how about I just go and buy a car? How about I sleep in my car? Oh, that's right. They took that ability away too. At 16, I had my learner's permit till 18. They never showed me how to drive, but there was an underlying condition that I was wondering about. I had no idea what it was. I just knew I really couldn't do things. And wouldn't that carry over to driving? If I can't throw a basketball, if I can't ride a bike, I mean, I can ride a bike, but I can't ride a bike all the time without having a spasm here or there. Every 100 bike rides, I might get a spasm in my arms turning the wheel to go woo, and then I have to try to keep it steady. You know, I just get muscle spasms in my arms and legs that do things I don't want it to do. Like maybe I'm shooting a basketball and I make the first shot perfect. I have a spasm with the second shot and it goes a little to the left. Then I make a third shot and it's perfect. And then I make a third shot and it is perfect, but I missed and it went a little to the left. Then I make a fourth shot and it went exactly as I wanted, but I still missed. It went to the right. And then I take a fifth shot and my arm spasms and it goes way, way to the left or it drops down. So that's the way it works. I mean, when you try to shoot a basketball, you might not make the shot, but your arm shouldn't spasm in the process. So I've been having this go on with me for years, years and years and years. Now, why did nobody help me with it? Why did no doctors figure it out? They were. Doctors in Westwood figured it out. Doctors in Texas heard about it. But my mother was lying, manipulating, and trying her best to avoid responsibility. and I was a child. I couldn't drive. Nobody would allow me to call a doctor to ask him questions about the overdose. It wasn't like teachers were kept long enough. But the thing is, if you ask any teacher if I was a storyteller, they would say, fuck no. If you ask anybody, my managers, they would say, no. Zach has some weird medical stuff he talks about. Sounds like his mother did some crazy ass loony shit. Yeah, Zach has a lot of stories about loony shit his mother did. But as far as telling stories, no. I never lie. It's not one of the things I do. Actually, I can't lie. If I tried to, it would just not work. It just wouldn't work because my heart would explode because of the ninth commandment, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. And that goes for a lot more than that. So also deceiving somebody is also a sin. So I try not to deceive, and I definitely never lie. I mean, as a child, I had as much fun as any other kid, oh, Santa Claus is coming down. Oh, and, fooling around. Your father's belittling you because you don't have a lot of money at 16 years old. So you go into, I got $25,000 in a bank. Well, why does my father belittle me while he's the one affecting? I have a job right now. Okay, so where's my money in my fucking bank? I have a job, so why is there no money, no check coming in? Because my job told me they need information from my doctor. They need me, if I'm going to be falling down, epileptic, using a cane, they're going to need some information. If I return now, they'll take me back. But if I can't do my job due to my disability, they're going to need paperwork. Okay, so I go to the doctors. Okay, I've been going to the doctors for over 3 years. What's the problem there? They gave me a stopgap measure epilepsy medication, but what's wrong? Well, they got information from my father that basically says not to help me. There's a lot more to it, but it's like everything Zach says is a fantasy. It's all made up. Don't help him. It's a red herring. Don't waste your money, stuff like that. So then insurance doesn't want to approve to look into it. The doctors don't want to get involved. They know it's real, but they just don't want to like they have like 20 doctors my mother and father paid for, psych doctors that have already written paperwork on my medical records. So the doctor would have to clear all those out. So that's actually a big, big, big case. If you got fraudulent medical records and you're coming in with new medical records that are accurate, the doctor has to be willing to put his job on the line to do it. They're not willing to do that for some little orphan boy that's cheap. No. Plus, you got my mother and father, and now only my father and his new wife, going, it's a fantasy. So you got the doctor hearing, it's a fantasy. He's mentally ill. It's a fantasy. Don't help him. Stuff like that. And then he has my medical records, old ones, all basically saying, mentally ill, mentally ill, mentally ill. He's lying. He's lying. It's a fantasy. He's lying. And then my parents are just trying to get that signed off on. And then they got me coming in with my actual injuries they can see, the actual injuries they can't see, and a full record and diagnosis of what's going on with me. And they try to put that information down. But then they have a choice. What information do they use? None of it. They just pass me off to another doctor. They pass me off to another doctor until somebody takes responsibility for their actions. I'm going to keep doing everything I can do to stay alive. Stay alive. I'm a survivor. I'm just trying to survive and stay alive at this point. I don't know how many people have to worry about staying alive, and I don't know how many people have to rely or can't use their doctor. I don't know how many people can't drive because of epilepsy but aren't allowed to get treatment. It's probably just me because I'm the only person that had my mother. There's nobody else that had my mother when she was going nuts. If my brother had my mother when he was a child and she was in charge of his health care, my brother would have killed her. My nephew, if he got hurt in this way and he was having my mother control his health care, he would have killed her and slit her throat. I know these two. Somebody hurts them and puts hands on them, hits them with a ruler, drugs them and violates their body, and then makes up stories about them for a year straight, they would punch her in the nose. Absolutely. I know those two. They wouldn't do it. But me, I'm supposed to sit and take it. I'm supposed to sit and take it. I'm their lightning rod. I'm their abuse victim. They want to fucking put pills in my body to shut me up. Nobody cares. Only the teachers care. Well, we can take them out of that school. And now, what choices do I have? I'm not allowed to work. I'm not allowed to collect Social Security. Social Security has a big mess now. I don't have a lawyer to fix that. I don't even drive. You think I can drive to Concord, Rochester, Concord, Mass, Texas, and then back? No, not with a disability like this. First, you treat the disability. Then you drive. Then you can do whatever you want in getting those things. But see, my mother and father made sure that I was so crippled that all I could do is try to stay alive. I mean, at first, at 19, I figured I could use a shelter like anybody else. I could work like anybody else. I figured, hey, it's not that hard. I just put in applications and I live at the shelter, right? No, it wasn't that simple. Why? Because my father collected Social Security money. My mother made up illnesses. She made up a fraudulent medical case. So when people need medical records from me, it's impossible. And because they keep on finding me on the side of the road and scraping me up, and the emergency rooms have no idea what's going on, they screw with me most of the time because they're like, we don't know what the fuck. We're just finding him on the ground. Maybe he wants to hang out at the hospital. Oh, yeah, that's what Lowell General figured. Because of the reports of my mother and father, and they kept on finding me bleeding unconscious, they figured it was a game because that's what my mother and father told them. It's a game, it's a game. Until they found me with a seizure. Then they said, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's drugs. But he has no drugs in his system. Maybe it's drugs. He has no drugs in his system. So what is it? If it's not caused by drugs and it's not a game, what is causing me to have seizures on the side of the road? Well, when did it start? 25 years ago, this feeling started. Oh, and it's in your body 24/7? Yeah. When it gets worse, that's when the seizures come in. Well, what triggers it? Temperatures below 60, flashing lights, weird noises, touch. Well, that sounds like epilepsy to me, because it is. Every epilepsy medication I ever tried has improved my condition, allowed me to walk, allowed me to talk, and it's like day and night. But instead, my family wants me to get worse, so I have a funnier voice, I have a funnier walk, I seem more mentally ill, and then I can't speak up for myself either because I won't be able to talk. My nervous system is getting that bad that a couple years ago it took me 3 months, 3 months to talk and walk again. Of course, the doctors couldn't figure out what was going on at that time because I can't talk and walk. So who's going to tell the doctors why I had a seizure in the bedroom and my head was splat open? Who? And then they always talk about the PCP at age 13, 16, stuff like that. Maybe he's taking PCP and it's making him crazy. That was just cough medicine. That's it. If you take cough medicine, you go to the emergency room, you pop for PCP. How many 13-year-olds you know that get PCP? I don't even think you can get PCP anymore. Maybe if you go to New Jersey or something, but no, I have lived in all the homeless areas, and there's lots of fentanyl, cocaine, crack, meth. There's even some ketamine and acid here and there. But PCP is non-existent. So no, there's no PCP ever in my life. That's probably the one drug I never even want to try. That and meth I never want to try. I never did try. These drugs I don't need. I've already tried amphetamines. My mother had me on enough amphetamines. We know that one actually did something good. The doctors knew that amphetamines was necessary for the ADHD. But by the time I was 12, I had anxiety, PTSD, and a neurological disorder, all caused by my mother. But did the doctors know that? No. All I was allowed to talk about is a big black guy choking me. And that really happened too, and my mother sued. Because they sued and won, that's what they wanted me to speak about. Whenever I mentioned my mother, she would say, you don't get to speak to me. You don't get to talk about me. How dare you? Keep your money. No, you don't get to speak about me. How dare you? I don't care if I'm 100 years old. You're never over me. You don't get to ever speak over me. I just want you to stop hitting me, stop drugging me, listen to me, and stop hurting me. That's all I'm speaking to the doctors about, is you throwing shoes at me, backhanding me, smacking me around. That is what the doctors are talking about. And then I have to try to record you because you lie so much. My mother was such a liar. At times, I felt it necessary to record her. Still today, I would love to just put a camera on my chest and just live my life. Why? Because I've noticed so many storytellers, when the doctors commit malpractice, do you think they admit they made a mistake? No. They just victim blame. It gets them out of it. If a doctor gives you the wrong medication, he's not going to put it on his file that you had a seizure from the wrong medication. They just don't do that. So it's good to have a camera in life if people are always going to lie about you and you have a record like mine. because your mother and father make up stories like mine did, and you got a target on your back for any misunderstanding. Anybody has a misunderstanding, a police officer, anybody, and I'm the one who's going to get hurt every single time. Because no matter what I say, no matter what information I give, they're going to chalk it up as lies. Because as soon as they look up on my medical report, that's all they're going to see from my mother, father is lie, fantasy, lie, fantasy. But that's their lies. They're lying about me lying so they can get away with something, keep on getting Social Security. They don't have to take responsibility, and they can pretend like they're great parents, and somehow I'm some evil kid. Even though what's really going on is I'm drooling in the corner while my mother yells in my face, yes, you playing with action figures means you're schizophrenic. You need to tell your doctor you want schizophrenic meds. Yes, you do. Yes, you want that. Yes, you want it. But I'm not schizophrenic. The doctor said so, and I don't hear any voices, and I never have any of the symptoms. That doesn't matter. You need to ask for the pills. I want you on those pills. I want you on those pills. Then she tries to confuse me in other ways too, like I'm bumping in the furniture for my entire life. I got scabs on my shins, elbows, places like that all the time. They call me in the living room. My mother tries to convince me that bumping in the furniture unwillingly means that I have suicidal behavior and I'm trying to harm myself. How stupid is this shit? Somebody is epileptic, has coordination issues. He's bumping in the bed frames, door frames. His watches are breaking on doorknobs when he walks by. And when the mother and father and people start realizing this again, not the first time this is like the third time that somebody has said there's something wrong with your son's body. And what does my mother do? She makes up an illness and tries to convince me that bumping in the furniture means that I'm a self-harmer. She also spits this shit out at my father all the time, twisting his brain up to try to make him think I'm some crazy kid who just has a bunch of stuff that he doesn't understand. When really, she has a bunch of stuff that he doesn't understand, and she's not being honest with him. And now I'm being honest with him, and what does he do? He doubles down on hurting me in the lies. He doesn't clear up the lies. He doesn't try to get an attorney. Doesn't try to, like, if he worked on this when I first called them about it, we would already have this over. I would already be back to work. I wouldn't be getting injured anymore. But instead, 3 years after trying to get my father to take responsibility for his own actions, I mean, he allowed his wife to go nuts. He signed off on the paperwork. He paid for the doctors. He did these things if he likes it or not. And now it's time to fix it. And if my father's too old at 89 to fix this because he forgets or whatever, then he needs to put somebody in charge to do it for him. Okay, you clean, you sell your house, and you get a fucking good lawyer. I don't know what to tell you. But this has to be fixed, and it has to be fixed by the people who did it. I didn't force my mother and father to lie. I can't fix their mistake. I've tried for 25 years. I've tried cleaning up my mother's mess as she was making messes. I'm cleaning up her mess as we speak. I'm doing the right thing. I'm going to doctors. I'm talking to Social Security. I'm talking to everybody who needs to know this information. But then my father doubles down on it's a lie, it's a fantasy. They're going to get people hurt. Not only are they going to get me killed, they're going to get a lot of other people hurt in the process with their bullshit. This is how you really fuck somebody over. This is how serial killers are invented. Luckily, I went the way of Monk, trying to help people. That's why I have the 84-year-old I take care of, nobody will put up with him. No roommates will ever be with him. Even his friends throw him out to the street as soon as they see him coming. David has nobody because he continues to act inappropriate. Raymond Christian is the same way. But they're my clients. It's not like I'm their friends. It's not like I like hanging out with them. I hate having to work all the time. But it's my Christian duty to keep everybody safe when I see a problem. There's 2 ways to fix a problem. 1, prevent them before they arise. 2, call the police and punish the people. So if you have somebody about to rob a bank, now maybe you could work out paying his rent or getting his wife medical care, and then he doesn't have to rob the bank. Or when this guy does rob the bank, you can go after him with the police. But there's 2 ways to handle any of these problems in society. 1, prevent the problem from arising in the first place. That is my big way. That's what I do. 2nd is try to go after them and punish them after you see something has happened. I prefer the first one. What do you prefer? Waiting till the last minute until people are hurt and dead and then have the federal government and a bunch of people mad at you? Or would you rather do something before something happens? You see something, you hear something, you do something.